So today we have member speakers and Leland Melvin, who is an astronaut, and I had a long chat, well, not a long chat, short chat with the role of nuclear and nuclear power and thrust and everything in the space business. And we know this has been a hard place to get to. And yeah, but you've been, you've been in space, so you got the different comparisons here. He is a former astronaut, engineer, retired NFL wide receiver, and is also on the board of directors of BWXT Technologies. And many of you will know BWXT. They make a lot of the nuclear fuel products for the U.S. government, also for energy and propulsion. So we're really excited to have you here. He has spent around 600 hours in space looking down at this little planet we have here. Was on the space shuttle Atlantis, helped construct the space station, International Space Station, inspires people and really focuses on careers in science, technology, and engineering, which we're also focused on here with some of the work we've done in Navajo Nation. So I don't think I have to go on a whole lot longer, but I really appreciate everybody here. Welcome, Leland, and looking for your comments. And 2 years ago, we had Miss America. All right? And I'm not trying to make that as a setback, because she was a nuclear engineer. Grace Donkey. No. But the difference was is she had her little Miss America, the little sachet and the little crown, and you've got your space outfit on. So again, welcome.
I'm no Miss America now. Let me get this working again. You guys can see the screen? It's coming. How's everyone doing? Thanks, Mark, for that introduction. I'm going to find out the guy who was on that flight with you, because I think I know who it is now. Nuclear guy. Maybe nuke guy. Let's see here. I learned a lot from Constantine coming over here about mining and uranium and rare earth metals. And so it was a crash course, for an hour-long crash course. But I want to talk a little bit about my journey becoming an astronaut, and then how critically important the work that you guys do here is for us to explore off this planet and to go to other places. All right, Houston with no problems today. I wrote a book called Chasing Space, Grit, Grace, and Second Chances. We've all had to pursue through grit, and we've also had to go through second chances to get to do incredible things. And if you look here, White Mesa Mill Open House, you had this 2 years ago? Miss America, right? Okay. Mr. Universe, how's that? Okay. So I want to show you a little bit about my journey. I started thinking about being an astronaut, never. And when Yuri Gagarin flew around the planet in April of 1961, he was the first person to do this. We then started this thing with John F. Kennedy, this space race, to get humans to the moon and back in the next decade. At the same time this is now May of 61, 1 month after Yuri Gagarin went around the planet, we were trying to get our civil rights straight in our country. So all these things are happening. And my parents, who are here, September of 61, my father, Deems, my mom in the middle, they were in Virginia Beach, Virginia, thinking about starting a family. So I call this my pre-me picture. I wasn't born yet, right? Pre-Leland. Where are they going to go to college? What are they going to do with their lives? They're going to work in the mill. What are they going to do? And so a little bit later, I was born with my sister. And my mother actually made our clothes. They were home economic teachers, language arts teachers, nothing about science and engineering, none of that stuff, nothing about space. But they instilled so many things in us, telling us we could do or be anything we put our minds to. And when I was about 4 years old, Star Trek came on. Anyone watch Star Trek? Any Trekkies in here? All right. I was a Trekkie because I was watching Nichelle Nichols, the chief communications officer on Star Trek. I was like, man, if there were women like that in space, maybe I could be an astronaut, right? But then I said, no, I don't want to be an astronaut. And when the moon landing happened, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, the most incredible technological thing we've ever done as human beings to go to the moon and back safely. And I had a chance to talk to Neil Armstrong one day. Neil, I said, I was in a classroom talking to these kids, and I asked all the kids in the room, I told them one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And I said, how many of you want to be astronauts? Only the boys raised their hand. And I'm like, so Neil, I changed it. I changed it to one small step for a human, one giant leap for humankind. And then the girls raised their hand. He said, okay, you're okay. You can say that. I'm okay with what you're doing. So Neil, this happened when I was 5 years old. I was an antenna engineer on the black and white Sylvania television set. I was a kid holding the rabbit ears. And my dad said, move your right hand down 30 degrees. And I moved it down and I stopped. And I tried to look around to the television. He said, don't move. We want to see this. You can see it later. So I never saw the actual transmission. But the next day we went outside and all the kids wanted to play astronaut. Who wants to be Neil? Who wants to be Buzz? No one wanted to be Michael Collins because he was not on the moon. He was up in the command module. And I said, I don't want to be either one of those guys. I want to be Arthur Ashe, the tennis player, because he trained 5 blocks down the street from where I grew up. So I wanted to be Arthur Ashe. And then my mother read to me every night The Little Engine That Could. I think I can, right? So I had this mantra inside of me that I can do anything. I'm a little kid, but I can do anything if I think I can. And then she read to me Curious George. How many of you read about Curious George? Remember Curious George? What did Curious George have? No matter what happened to him, he got in trouble, he did something stupid. What did he have that he used? Right here. You didn't read Curious George, did you? He had optimism, something else, something most critically important. The man in the yellow hat. Who's your man or woman in the yellow hat who has your back? Who's your man or woman in the yellow hat who's helping you get that next deal, the next meal, the next energy? And that's something that I learned as a kid, to always have that one person in your life who has your back. And then my dad decided we're going into the bread business. He drove this bread truck into our driveway, $500, and he says, this is our camper. I said, I can read, dude. It says, Marita Bread and Rolls on the side of this truck. It's not a camper. It's a bread truck. So my dad, over that summer, made schematics, bunk beds. We built bunk beds that flip down. We rewired the entire truck, electrical engineering, learning mechanical engineering. And I still think it's a bread truck because it still says Marita Bread and Rolls. And until we paint that bread truck, we're now in a recreational vehicle, driving down the highway, winning out over any Winnebago that costs $40,000, and we're in a $500 truck with my sweat equity. So it tells you what you can do when you have a vision for something and you believe in something. And then my mother gave me the age-appropriate, non-OSHA certified chemistry set. It went something like this. He said, here you go, son. Make sure you follow the instructions. So I throw the instructions over my shoulder. I mixed these 2 dissimilar chemicals together and created the most incredible explosion in her living room. I burned a hole in her carpet. My mom was 5'2". That day she taught me physics. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. So I'm laying on my butt right there because she knocked me across the room. But if you look there, my eyes are activated to science. All I need is a lab coat and goggles to be a scientist. And so now I'm playing football. Any football players out here, former football players? Okay. I think no, where's Carlisle? Carlisle over there. So he was a linebacker. I was a wide receiver. I was trying to knock the linebackers out, right? So that's me, number 47. In high school, I was a wide receiver. I was running down the sideline and the crowd was screaming, and I was trying to catch this. Y'all can scream. I'm running down the sideline, the crowd is screaming. The ball is coming into my hands. By a show of hands, how many of this room think I caught the ball in that picture? 1 or 2, 3. The rest of you think I dropped the ball? And I guess the rest of you really don't care, right? So I dropped this pass in my hands in the end zone, homecoming game. There was a scout from the University of Richmond looking to see if I could play for the Spiders. I dropped that pass, went to the sideline. My coach grabbed me by the face mask, looked me in the eyes and said, I believe in you, Leland. Go back out there, run the same play, but this time catch the ball. I catch the ball. We win the game. The scout comes back and sees me in the end zone doing a little dance, and he says, He failed horrifically, but he didn't give up. That one catch resulted in a $180,000 scholarship to the University of Richmond because I had a man in the yellow hat who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. At this meal, at these places, you have people working with you that you depend on for safety. They're your men and women in the yellow hat to ensure that everything goes successfully. So I go into college, I play at University of Richmond, now I can officially blow things up as a chemistry major, and I got drafted to the Detroit Lions. Any Lions fans in here? Wow, okay. Come a long way, huh? In training camp, I pulled my hamstring, and I ended up getting cut from the Lions. And then I start graduate school and sign with the Dallas Cowboys. Any Cowboys fans in here? No. Oh, one. My man. Okay. Well, they cut me too, so I have no allegiance to either the Cowboys or the Lions. And my last catch in the NFL, I got cut after this. And what every former NFL player does, they go work for NASA, right? So I'm working at NASA Langley Research Center, making optical fiber sensors for strain and temperature on measuring these measurements on aerospace vehicles. We had a X-33 vehicle that had liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen tanks. So we wanted to wrap these tanks with optical fibers and be able to measure the strain and the chemical species that were coming out of them. The day that I did this, we had the first sensors made, was the day that I got into the astronaut corps. And I never imagined applying or getting in, but a friend of mine said, you'd be a great astronaut. So I applied. Eventually I applied when my other friend got in, because he was a knucklehead. And I said, if that knucklehead can get in, I can get in. So I applied the next selection and I got in. Can anyone find me in this picture? I know back in the back. Mark, can you, come on, man. You got your glasses on. I know. Give me a row column. I'm right here. Come on, Jackie. In left to, no, that's the other black guy. That's not me. So anyway, can you find me in this picture? You can't see. Okay, the arrow will help you. That's me. This is our 1998 astronaut class. They call us the Penguins because the class before us, they were 45 of them, and when they took pictures, they had to squeeze into each other. So they were named the Sardines. They said, you will never fly because there's so many of us. So we're going to call you, they wanted to call us the ugly flightless birds, the dodos. So we said, instead of a dodo, let's be a penguin, a little more classy. If we're not going to fly, let's be classy. So we're the Penguins. We trained to fly on these high-performance military jets. We did land survival training. We did zero-G training in a airplane that had not a lot of the seats were taken out, so you could do weightlessness for 25 seconds. And if you get sick on the first parabola, you do 40 more. So it's a long flight. I didn't get sick on that time. And then armored personnel carriers, we go through to figure out how to get away from the pad if something happens. This was the first crew going to the International Space Station. Was this the guy, Mark, in the middle? Bill Shepard? Okay. So I was in Russia working for 2 years to get these guys ready to fly. They needed me to cook something, they needed me to clean, whatever I had to do to help them get ready to fly. When they launched to space, it was now time for me to start training. I went back to Houston, and we have this 5 million gallon pool. It's called the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory. It has a submerged space station and space shuttle. And in this pool is where you wear this white EVA suit to go down and simulate microgravity, right? We don't have like a microgravity machine in a room that we turn it on. So we use this to be neutrally buoyant. If you look in this picture, the blue line is pointing to a little styrofoam block called a Valsalva pad. If you're the kind of person when you dive in the water, if you have to squeeze to clear your ears, the only way you can do that in the suit is to press your nose against this pad. My first run in the pool, the technician right there forgot to put my pad in my helmet. I get down about 20 feet, I tell the test director to turn the volume up in the headset. At that point, I hear nothing but static and white noise. When I feel myself getting pulled out of the pool, I'm up on the pool deck, they take my helmet off, and the doctor's walking towards me, and he's talking to me. He's saying something, but I don't hear anything he's saying. He touches my right ear, blood flows down the side of my face. I am completely deaf. I can't hear a bomb drop. And they rush me to the hospital. When I wake up from the anesthesia, these are the faces of the doctors that I see. And I said, that didn't go too well. They went in to look to see if I had something called a perilimb fistula, where the oval and circular windows that are keeping the fluid in your inner ear are now leaking. And they poked and they prodded. They didn't find any problems with that. They checked the stapes and mechanical linkages. They could not find out what was wrong with me. And I'm immediately disqualified to fly in space. People come to my bedside to console me. One of the people that came to see me was Daniel Golden, who was the head of NASA at the time. Daniel Golden was in charge of getting the Hubble Space Telescope deployed into space to help us see deeper into the cosmos. This was the Hubble. When the Hubble got to space, the primary mirror was ground incorrectly to the point where every image that came back from Hubble was blurry. Congress wanted his head. The scientific community wanted his head, because how could this happen on his watch? One little polishing of the mirror would have solved this problem. And instead, we have a $2 billion paperweight floating around in space. This Hubble telescope was never meant to be repaired with astronauts floating around in bulky gloves. But we figured out how to do it. The science community came together, the technical community came together, astronauts came together, and we figured out how to do it. And the first picture that came from the Hubble after it was repaired was these 3 columns. It's called the Eagle's Nest Nebula. It's a nursery where stars are actually born. That nursery is 7,000 light years from Earth. That's in the quadrillions of miles away. And the left pillar is 1 light year in height. These notes that are written to me are from Daniel Golden while I was deaf in the hospital. And he was inspiring me. He was motivating me. You know, things happen in these high energy areas. All kinds of things can happen. And it's that we work together and believe in each other to make sure that we get through those things. And so he wrote on this, it says, Leland, NASA never gave up on Hubble. I will never give up on you. So I had a new man in the yellow hat who was helping me get through this problem that I was having. I got my hearing back only in my right ear, only in the speaking frequencies. And they still told me that I was medically disqualified to fly in space. But now I'm working in education, like my parents, trying to get kids to nominate their teachers to become astronauts. And so the first day we kicked off this program, there was a huge problem. Many of you remember this thing happened. The crew that's sitting in that picture on that table was the Columbia crew, STS-107. And I got a phone call from my boss, who was new to NASA at the time. She said, what does it mean when the countdown clock in Florida is now counting up? I said, how many seconds, how many minutes? And it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So I rushed to NASA headquarters to figure out what happened to my friends. And we all knew that they were all gone. This was the crew. David Brown in the top left corner is a flight surgeon who was, while he was training, he was on the medical investigation board to try to get me back on flight status. He's a great friend and trying to help me while he's trying to get to space. And now I'm at his house consoling his mother and father. And I walk into the house and his father says to me with tears in his eyes, he says, Leland, my son is gone. There's nothing you can do to bring him back. But the biggest tragedy would be if we don't continue to fly in space to honor their legacy. That's the thing. We have to honor the legacy of those that we have lost to continue to explore. And we go to the memorial services around the country. On every takeoff and landing in the NASA jet, there's a person sitting beside me with a little black notebook taking notes. And as we land, he watches me clear my ears with my fingers. And as we finish going through the memorial services, I'm ready to transition from Washington, D.C. back to Houston to figure out what I'm going to do as a non-flying astronaut. And I get a call from Rich Williams. He says, come in my office. He's the chief of all the flight surgeons. He says, I've watched you take care of the families. I've seen you not give up. I've seen you be there for other people. Here's a waiver for you to fly in space. He signed a waiver for me to fly in space because he believed in me when so many people didn't believe in me because I only had one ear to hear. So I went back to Houston. I ended up going on some training trips with some of my other colleagues. And then this was the crew that I was assigned to, STS 122. We were all doing training actually in Canyonlands, Utah. We had to do basically a Knowles trip where we worked together as a team. And I realized this guy back over here, Alan Poindexter, whenever he got thirsty, he got a little mad, he got a little snippy. So we were finding out what were the trigger points that caused us to get a little agitated. And with any well-oiled team, that's one of the things you do. You figure out what makes you the other person mad so that you don't get mad, so that you can resolve that to have a highly functioning team that's working efficiently. And so through the Canyonlands experience, through some other experiences, we came out of the woods. And then I had to go, since we didn't have a doctor on this mission, I had to be the doctor in space. So I'm not a doctor on the ground, I just play one up in space. So we were doing some medical training. And then you can take your family in to take pictures before you go to space. And I took my dog, since they didn't say two-legged or four-legged. And we launched in February of 2008. That was our crew taking off in the space shuttle. Again, the uranium, the rare minerals that we use to make all these circuits and things that we use for space technology is critically important to our future. And 5 miles from the space station, this is what it looked like from the space shuttle. We docked to the space station, and then we had a medical emergency where I had to take care of one of my colleagues, which I never thought I would have to do. But sometimes you just have to rise to the occasion and take care of business. My job was to use a robotic arm to install this Columbus laboratory, a $2 billion research laboratory to the International Space Station. I had never done this before, only done it virtually. And everyone in Europe, the 10,000 scientists and engineers in Europe, had been waiting 10 years for this to get installed to the space station. So there was no pressure at all, right? So as we got closer to the space station, we got closer and closer, all the ready to latch indicators came on. And I thought that would be my aha moment. Primary mission objective done. Everyone in Europe celebrating, Leland, Leland. But what happened next was just incredible. We floated over to the Russian segment. We had a meal with people we used to fight against. Russian, German, Asian American, African American, breaking bread at 17,500 miles per hour, going around the planet every 90 minutes while seeing a sunset and a sunrise every 45 while listening to Sade Smooth Operator. Your mind is blown, and you're looking at places like you look at your hometown while you're sharing this meal. Lynchburg, Virginia is where I'm from. And I'm thinking my mom and dad are probably having meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and 10 minutes later we're flying over Paris. And Leo's saying my mom's probably having wine and cheese. And Yuri's looking off to Moscow. We're having borscht. In that one 10-minute swath of time, we've seen where our families live and work, and it just changes the way you see yourself in the universe, connected to everyone. And then you thin blue lines is their atmosphere that keeps us alive. And I had to take the Lions jersey from my friends over in the corner. Yeah, right, yeah. And then the Cowboys jersey was up in space. And then we actually floated some M&Ms. This is what it's like to play with your food in space. Can you guys in the back see this? It's a little, okay. So every liquid assumes a sphere when you go to space, when you have no gravity. And there's physics and surface tension and all these things happening when you do what we call stupid astronaut tricks. And this is one of them. Oh, a surface one. Look at that. Can we see a surface one? Two surface. Whoa. Whoa, sorry, dude. Oh. You have to try this, Constantine, when you go to space. Are you ready for separation? Separate. Hold on, one more. Nice. Oh, nice. That's gonna be a deal, man. Yeah, that's your steps. Oh, there you go. Yeah, don't tell them. Good biology. Go for it. Tell them. You got it. Oh, what's on the lens? Don't do that when you go to space. Almost choked to death in space. Made it to space safely. Made it back. My mother was a home economics teacher that said she saw this video and she wound back up to teach me some more physics. This is what the station looked like after installation of the Columbus laboratory. Robotic arm at the top, Columbus at the top, flying over the boot of Italy. Engineers in Italy working on the Columbus are now have their job security. Second mission was in 2009 with this crew of guys. We launched from Florida, like we did with Atlantis, and this job was to install spare parts on the space station. STS-129 with the 129th shuttle launch. We only had 135 missions, so we were coming to a close on the shuttle, so we had to pre-position spare parts. We had to do some repairs on some things up there. That's a day's worth of food in space. When you brush your teeth in space, I don't know why this happens. It's like gravity or something. Something happens, but people want to congregate around you. And look at Butch. Butch is flossing his teeth above my head. There should be a law against that because particles floating and, it's just crazy. But anyway, this was our crew. This was Thanksgiving Day. Yes, ma'am.
Move forward a little bit. You're getting someone. There you go. We're good.
How's that? I can go in the back if you want. So Thanksgiving Day, still feedback? Thanksgiving Day feedback. I'll just sit right here with Mark. Incredible moment. Play football in space. We had back then it was the Redskins jersey, the Texans jersey, and we actually got a little hit in space. This is what it's like to take a hit in space. Boom. But it doesn't hurt. You keep floating, right? Until you hit the wall, and then it hurts, right? We also had the Super Bowl coin in space, and this is what it's like to flip the Super Bowl coin in space. We're at the International Space Station with Commander Williams and Commander Hobart. Commander Williams is representing the AFC, Army, and Commander Hobart is representing the Navy, the NFC. We're going to do coin toss here. Here are both sides of the coin. This is heads. This is tails. If you guys do understand. Okay, here we go. The coin's gone. How are we going to decide? Never get away. Okay, well, let's do rock, paper, scissors. All right. On three, and then we shoot. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. On three, shoot. That was right. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Go Navy. You gotta go find that coin though. All right, let's go. So I choked on a water bubble. This time I'm lacerating the top of my head on the International Space Station, and it was just not a pretty sight. So I've shown you these funny hijinks and things because you work hard, you play hard, and in life, you're seeing these incredible vistas from around the world. The Middle East, the Nile, the Red Sea. You see Argentina, Chile, Peru. Patagonia down at the bottom of that, and some motorcycles that Constantine was on. But that thin blue line is our atmosphere that keeps us alive. That's our life support system. And it's when you hold your arm out and you put your thumb up, it's a thumbprint wide. And that's how fragile it is. And so that's why we all have to work better together. Namibia and Africa. And any flat earthers in here? No, seriously. I mean, this is a safe space. Come on. Stand up, please. Please stand up. I mean, we can talk about this. We have checked. It is not flat, but we can talk about this. Any flat? Raise your hand. Anyone? Come on. I know there's one or two. Come on. All right. Anyway, Cairo, Egypt. The blues of the oceans are so incredible. That's the Mississippi River, Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans. This is the Dead Sea where sea salt is harvested in those white lines. Anyone know where this is? there's a mine near there. Energy Fuels mine near there. Grand Canyon. Yeah. And then this is one of the most I think it's one of the most incredible places in the universe. Does anyone know where that line is pointing right there? Come on. I mean, it's I know you know. Honorable one. It's Lynchburg, Virginia, where I'm from. I know you knew that, but anyway, so when you look at the planet at night, you see where people are living, working, loving, taking care of their families, doing everything. It's just one of the most beautiful things to see. And that's Florida, where we were going to land back the next day. My last picture in space went into education to help inspire the next generation, all the things that we do to help. I see the Utah State University truck out here. We want to make sure that we inspire our kids to believe that anything is possible, like my parents did for me. Talk to kids all over the world to help them get motivated and inspired to do incredible things. This is for kids, this is for employees, this is for everyone. How to prepare students, employees, people for jobs we can't yet imagine. Things that are coming down the pipe that we haven't even thought about yet. How to ensure that everyone can meet the level of rigor to get the work done. And then how to build experiences that spark passion. To make sure that you're passionate about the stuff that you do. I was talking to Curtis. He's been with Energy Fuels for 20 years as a lawyer, and I thought he was a chemist because he was breaking it down to me with all the things that these guys are doing. When John Glenn went to space, Katherine Johnson had to do the numbers. He wouldn't fly until she did the numbers. And when I gave Katherine a copy of my book, the first thing she wanted to know was, when are we getting to Mars? When are we going to Mars? And so right now there's a telescope, the James Webb Telescope, that's 1 million miles from Earth. It's using all kinds of things that come out of the ground to make these images come to life. And the technology for seeing the constellations that we saw from Hubble are now in such a higher clarity. And so these are the things that happen when we mine these minerals to get some of the best telescopes in the world. All the rocket companies and space companies that are around the world that we're looking at using the stuff that comes out of the ground to send people to the moon and Mars. Space Launch System, SpaceX Starship, Blue Origin, NASA Orion. This is the next group of people that's going to the moon using these minerals. And I work with BWXT, Defense and Space. We make all the nuclear fuel for the Navy. Nuclear energy, nuclear fuel, nuclear medicine, and complex site operations. We're looking at thermal nuclear propulsion to get to Mars in 3 months instead of 8 months. And we're also looking at terrestrial as well as planetary power using nuclear fuel. So critically important what you do here for all of these applications. And one day we're going to go to Mars. And one day there may be an Energy Fuels outpost on the Martian surface. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do. Stay safe. Make sure you have your man or woman in the yellow hat beside you who's got your back, no matter what you're doing. And live long and prosper. Godspeed on your journey. Thank you. All right. Anyone have any questions or comments or anything? Any questions? Fair game too. Anyone? Yes, sir.
You mentioned there at the end going to Mars. Any of your thoughts on what would be the biggest thing we could do in the future, including going to Mars, or what we would do there? Well, what do you see the future as?
So what do we see for the future in space? That's a great question. What's your name? Jeremy. Jeremy asked, what is the biggest thing? I think the biggest thing, and this is what I learned as I went through the astronaut program and saw friends going off to different places, is that once we stop exploring as a civilization, we will falter, right? Going back to the moon, that's something we have minerals we can mine there. There are things we can do there. We can live there, use that as an outpost to get to Mars. Think about Mars as being like planet Earth one day with water and vegetation and maybe some animals, maybe some things. What if the Earth or Mars was the precursor to what may happen here? So the exploration of what we do is critical to make sure that we can find out what's up there. There's possible asteroids with minerals that we can mine. There are other things out there that we can get to make our way of life here at home better. So, and John Young, who was an astronaut who walked on the moon, he said to me, I walked my dogs down by his house. They said, Leland, once we stop exploring, we will falter as a civilization. So space exploration, ocean exploration, any kind of exploration you can think of is something that we must do as human beings to keep our way of existence going. And that's why we explore. Did I answer your question? Okay, great. Anyone else? Over here. Gotta run. STEM. I say STEAM, but STEM. Okay.
Well, what do you see as a path forward? We see all these reports of our kids falling behind in math and science. How do we correct that?
So you saw what I did when I was a kid. I was building a bread truck camper, hands-on experiential activities, getting outside, looking up, seeing the sky. I mean, I was always outdoors. I didn't have a screen to look at. Now, there's nothing wrong with screens. You get virtual simulations and things like that, but it has to be a balance of experiential learning, building, creating, learning how to use tools, all these things combined with the virtual side too. I think that's critical. And it's shown in a lot of students that do Project Lead the Way, where they're getting given projects in elementary school. They're having to build something and create something with their hands. Those kids do so much better than kids that don't do that kind of stuff. Yeah. What's your name?
Jason.
Jason. Good question. We have runners now? Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? In the red back here, NC State. Whoa, whoa. I think we beat you guys.
Thank you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm
What's
doing
your name, too?
My name is. Sorry. My name is Azmain.
Osmine?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a graduate student at NC State.
Okay. You're good.
And I'm doing my major in nuclear engineering. My major. Thank you. My major is nuclear engineering. So I don't have any technical question to you. I have a philosophical question to you. So when you leave the planet, so you are away from the planet in the middle of nowhere in the space. So what would be your best advice to the humanity that you felt up there? So what would be the best advice for the humanity from you?
What would be the percent of humanity that I felt?
What would be your advice to the humanity?
Oh, what would be my advice to humanity that goes to space, or just in general? In general, I think when I showed the picture of all of us breaking bread, I mean, Russian, German, French, we were all from different places. We ate different food. We did different things. But up there, we were one family. We were a human family, and we depend on each other for our lives. If anyone flipped the wrong switch, we were all dead. So, in seeing that collaboration in space, and then coming home, I wanted to work more with other people to help get that same mindset and philosophy that we had in space for all humanity. Because if we don't work together up there, we don't work together down here, we could be gone, right? And it's called the overview effect. It's where you see yourself from this vantage point and you feel so connected to everyone, no matter if you don't understand what they say or what they do, but we're all human beings. All right. Good question. All right. I think that's my last question. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the open house. Live long and prosper.
Well, thank you very much, Leland. Come over here. We got a gift for you.